Hello everyone, SodaFan2K10 here, and welcome to the first of a new style of video from me. Even though I haven't made an episode of my series for a few years, I've still been busy making other things. I built various buildings out of Lego, but also a few props using cardboard and papier-mâché. In this video, I'm going to be making a new model out of cardboard, and taking you through each phase of the process. The model in question will be the arched bridge. The bridge made its first appearance in Series 1 at the foot of Gordon's Hill and continued to appear throughout all 24 seasons, being featured at Wellsworth Station, out on the main line, or even used as a tunnel entrance. It's one of the most iconic props of the show as far as I'm concerned, so I decided to make my own, and this video will show you how I did it. Without further ado, let's get building! I started out by measuring the width of 3 parallel tracks on a sheet of paper. I also measured the width of 3 curved tracks in case I wanted to recreate the shot of Gordon passing under the bridge in Gordon and the Gremlin, but decided it was too wide. Next, I drew a rough sketch of the bridge on a sheet of paper using my measurements and placed it behind an engine to get a visual idea of how big the bridge would be. I thought it looked a little too tall, so I folded over the bottom edge by an inch. Now it looked too low, so I folded it by only half an inch, and this looked just about right to me, so that's what I went with. Now it was time to start constructing. All of my cardboard models are primarily made from Lego set boxes. As a Lego collector, I have a lot of boxes come my way, and they're good quality for craft projects. Plus, it's nice to reuse them instead of recycling them. Luckily, I saved this Lego Mario box, which was large enough to cut both of the arch panels on. I used the measurements from my paper sketch, cut out one panel, then traced it to create the second. A quick visual test, and I think the size is still about right. Next, I cut out 4 trapezoid shapes for the angled supports. The lines come in down from the top mark where I'm going to cut slits. I also cut slits from the bottom up on the arch panels. This allows me to slot all the pieces together. I chose to do it this way for a few reasons. It provides internal support to prevent it from crushing, provides a lot of stability, and is fewer pieces to cut and attach to each other and the bridge. The alternative is to make each support separately, meaning 12 total pieces that need to be made precisely, attached together, and then to the bridge. My method with the slits puts the bridge together with no glue or tape, and it holds its shape, so it's a win-win. I traced the outline of the bottom of the bridge onto more cardboard and cut them out to create a base. It's not totally necessary, but it does provide more strength. I then cut out small rectangles to complete the supports. Always use plenty of tape to keep individual pieces in place. I choose to use tape instead of glue as it's less messy and you don't have to wait for it to dry. For the road section, I cut a strip of cardboard that was longer and wider than the bridge. Because of the arch, I didn't know exactly how long to make it, so I made it longer with the intention of trimming it down to size. I cut 4 slots along the sides, leaving tabs at the corners and in the middle. I fitted the strip and cut slots into the sides of the bridge for the tabs to fit through, then trimmed them back about flush with the arch panels. This helps keep the road in place without the need for internal supports and tape. I forgot to take a separate picture, but you can see I also cut and attached end panels. Like the base, they aren't entirely necessary, but they do provide additional strength. A few days passed before I could continue working on this project, but when I came back to it, I started wondering if I'd made it too tall. Testing it with some engines and comparing it to images from the show, I started to not like it and thought about lowering it. But this height does allow for an engine on a flatbed to pass under, and after thinking about it more, I started to come back around and decided it looked fine as it was. The last part of the bridge to make was the underside. I used thin card, in this case from a cereal box, as it's a little more malleable to fit into the curved corners. I didn't have a strip long enough, so cut 2 short lengths and taped them securely together. Then I gently pushed it into the corners and taped it into place. Again, use plenty of tape to keep it in place. At this point, the base structure of the bridge was complete. However, that's only phase 2. Since it is only cardboard, it's not entirely sturdy, but phase 3 will solve that problem by, to quote Henry's driver, making something called papier-mâché. For this phase, we're going to need some tissue paper. We're also going to need some glue, specifically PVA glue, which you'll often find in these white squidgy bottles. Find yourself a small container, in my case made by cutting off the bottom of a juice bottle, pour in some glue and mix with water using a paintbrush. I can't really give you exact measurements, such as 1 part water to 5 parts glue, partially because I don't understand the units of parts, but mainly because I don't use measurements. I simply make as much as I need, and I can always make more if I run out. The glue mixture should look about like this. You don't want it too thick, as it can sometimes tear the paper, but also not too thin, as it will just run everywhere and make a mess. Now we're finally ready to start. Apply some glue to your model, add a piece of your tissue paper, and then glue over the top of it. I always start at the seams where two pieces of cardboard meet, just to get the initial strength. I like to use long strips to attach several pieces together. I covered the whole bridge in 3 layers of tissue paper, which took several days as I only had time to work on it in the evenings, and had to wait for each to dry. If you can, do 1 round of papier-mâché in the morning, leave to dry for a few hours, and you should be able to come back and do more in the evening. We're on to phase 4, the home stretch, which of course is painting. Unfortunately, I got a bit carried away and forgot to take more pictures of the progress, but I painted the bridge in a brick colour called Chimney Pot. By the way, I buy these little tester pots for my projects, as they're cheap and are plenty for projects at this scale. I painted the road a dark grey and then the accents in a beige. Looking good so far. I debated whether or not to weather the bridge. I usually don't like weathering, as I like the clean look, but I felt the bridge looked a little flat and lacking personality, so I decided to go ahead. One thing I noticed on the prop was the 3 smoke stains. On the new series prop, the entire side is coated in weathering, but I don't like the look of that, so I chose to go with the pattern of the Classic series model. To do this, I used a dry brush method. I dipped my paintbrush very lightly into some black paint, then brushed off the majority onto some scrap cardboard, then very carefully applied it to the bridge. I started at the bottom and brushed upwards, as that's the direction the smoke travels. I continued to weather the bridge using black, a bit of red, and even some olive green to represent moss. I also used black on the road to dirty it up a little too. I didn't go too far with it, and it looks subtle here, but I did just enough that I was happy with the end result. And with that, the arch bridge was complete. I have to admit I'm very pleased with how it turned out, and now that it's painted, I'm much more comfortable with the overall height. I think it works out just fine. And here it is on set. Let's enjoy a little train spotting at the bridge. If you made it this far, then thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed and even learned something from it. This is the first video I've made of this kind, and I plan to do more soon, so please let me know if there's anything I can do to improve. I would really appreciate it. Thank you again for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.